Hi, and welcome to Syllabus number 3 here at Overheard Orlando. It's kind of like a series where I give you a status quo on what's going on with me and with the podcast itself. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of you who are listening. It is really such a humbling experience to see the listener numbers and the subscriber numbers, even if I can't see who you guys are, going up and steadily climbing month after month. So thank you so much for that. Secondly, my apologies for not being as prolific as I have been in the past. I have recently started an exciting and challenging new career path, and it's just been taking a lot of my time, a lot of my mental energy, one could say. But this is my true passion, and I am committed to this. Before I get into some of the changes and ideas that I want to incorporate into this podcast, I'd like to say that this podcast will continue to be a life and philosophy podcast for people in Orlando. It will continue to get into the inner workings of the mind, different psychological aspects, things that are really just parts of life, falling in love, dealing with loss, dealing with, really anything, finances, anything that pertains into that, I will continue to speak about and have people on to speak about. So the first of my new concepts I'd like to talk about is I'm going to be kind of rebranding this podcast, and right now I'm shooting for refreshing everything for the new year. I'm working with a delightful local Orlando artist, and I can't wait to see what she comes up with. It's very promising. Secondly, I have, since the beginning of this podcast, really wanted to kind of get into the actual streets of Orlando and go to events and try to talk to people face to face there, kind of ask some questions on the fly, get some opinions and things of that nature. Of course, the global pandemic that is currently raging on has made things difficult. It is not the easiest to approach a stranger. Not that it was ever easy, but of course there's new challenges with that. So still trying to figure out how to do that in a way that people will feel comfortable with and that will still be effective. Next, I have kind of committed myself to trying to do weekly episodes, and in reality, it can be a really daunting task sometimes. There is a lot of time and work that goes into each and every one of these episodes, and some weeks I just can't do it, balancing work, a social life, a love life, all of those things, and then as well as weekly episodes, it just can't always be done. To attempt to mitigate that, I am committing myself to weekly content. So maybe if I can't do an episode one week, I will do a blog post via overheardorlando.com, or I could do just a picture of something. I'm trying to kind of experiment with different ways to continue to deliver on a weekly basis without every week being an episode, because the last thing I want to do is start phoning these episodes in. And of course, you guys don't want to listen to that. Another fun and exciting new opportunity that I've received this year is the possibility of doing some freelance journalistic work that would go hand in hand with this podcast. So I'm hoping to set aside some time soon to start covering events or start talking about things in that way, where there may be an actual article that corresponds to a specific podcast episode. Stay tuned for that. I don't want to give out too many details until I've actually taken the jump on that. But I do have a passion for journalism, and I do have a passion for covering things and talking about things that are important or things that are maybe not being said so much. So that's kind of a big hope for me as we wrap up this year and launch into a new year. Something else I would also like to start doing a lot more of in the future is I want to include some more collaborations with people. One of my biggest flaws is that asking for help is not something that comes natural to me. It's something that I have to kind of remind myself of, that, I don't have to do this all alone. It is my hope to start collaborating a lot more with local artists or just people of different skill sets that maybe I don't have, that maybe can bring that to the table, bring that to the podcast, and kind of build those relationships and go from there. Hopefully something mutually beneficial to both or to both parties or whatever the case may be. So that's a big hope for me. I want to kind of include more input from local individuals. So the last thing that you may be wondering is why this episode is subtitled Reunion. Well, I can honestly say that I am the happiest that I've been in a really long time, and that took a lot of reflection and kind of a reunion of sorts of all of the different aspects of my personality, the different things that make me who I am. And that includes forgiving yourself for your flaws, as well as really being proud of your strengths. So one could call that a reunion of, the personality. I think that people are really quick to kind of hyper-focus on their bad qualities, and they're not looking at the bigger picture. They're not looking at things as a collective, the world as a collective, themselves as a collective, other people as the collective that makes them who they are. The second thing is a reunion between you and myself, and me returning back to this podcast. I've been, like I said, really wrapped up in work and different things, and it's been like the entirety of this year has been kind of an acclimation. And if you're able to adapt, you're able to get through anything. So I am returning back to doing what I enjoy. My new job has become more of a routine again, and I can now kind of focus that mental energy into my my hobbies, what I enjoy most, which is doing this. Reunion is a pretty big theme this time of year, both for obvious and not so obvious reasons. And while it could be argued as irresponsible or potentially immoral to reunite, there is a certain beauty to be seen in people taking additional risks to just be close to each other. And that is something that I would not overlook. Whether the final act of 2020 brings a reunion with yourself or with some old friends and family, I hope that you do so thoughtfully and reflectively. That's pretty much it from me. Do check me out on overheardorlando.com or shoot me an email at overheardorlandopodcast@gmail.com, on Instagram as well at overheardorlandopodcast. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to the rest of this year and a brand new year with you. And as always, stay true.